Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we are in Acts chapter 21, verse 17 through 23:35, all the way through the end of chapter 23. And the end of this, for me, really had a neat or good law enforcement takeaway. It's not a travel day by any means like we talked about having yesterday. There are Paul has arrived in Jerusalem like he was where he was headed yesterday on all the ships and all that. And today we read, and with an expectation of this prophecy that he was told as he left, that he would be bound and turned over to the Jews. Well, right off the bat in verse 17, verse 17, Paul's given a warm welcome into Jerusalem. Jews come and greet him, and everything's great, and you think, okay, this is going well. They're not gonna turn him over. But the Jews of the Church of the Way, the Christian Jews, realize that Paul has greatly offended the Pharisees and Sadducees, who are still the ruling body in the greater authoritative church of Jerusalem, not in their beliefs, but just in the amount of power that they still hold. So the Christian church tells Paul, we want you to go through this kind of like a Nazirite vow, shave your head, whatnot, just to appease them so they won't question you and they won't get us all in trouble. Instead of Paul saying, I'm not doing that, Paul goes along with it. And probably because they were over him in authority, and he obeyed authority, so he does it. Well, towards the very end of this, they're about to get away with it when all of a sudden he's recognized by some Jews that had traveled into Jerusalem from one of the cities that he was at, where he was planning a new church. That these Jews got all upset because of the lack of circumcision and you don't have to follow the law. So when they see Paul and recognize him, they go into hysterics. They cause this big riot. Paul's seized. All of a sudden, they're about to kill him, and the Romans step in. Remember, the Romans are the peacekeepers. That's right. They're the law enforcement officers of the day. They see this going on, and they step in and they rescue Paul. Then they take him, and they're about to punish him, and they don't even really know why, but Paul reveals that he's a Roman citizen, and they stop, because Roman citizens, you can't just punish a Roman citizen without having a trial and having them be convicted. They have special privileges. So the Roman soldiers, they take him off of the rack, which they were about to scourge him on, get him another trial in front of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the whole Sanhedrin. But immediately, one of them, the high priest, unbeknownst to Paul, tells one of the guys to slap him in the face for what he's saying. So he punches Paul, and Paul knows the law. Remember, he was a Pharisee. He was an upcoming Pharisee. He was one of their young stars, destined for greatness amongst the Pharisees. So he knew the law. And he calls them out on their hypocrisy. He says, you just hit me for no reason. And the Jews punish him, punching him, much like the Romans were about to punish him. Neither one of them gave him a fair trial. They were just going to punish him. And the Romans didn't do it because he claimed Roman citizenship, but the Jews do. He gets punched. And in chapter 23, verses 4 and 5, it says, but the bystanders said, do you revile God, God's high priest? And that was the one who gave the order to punch Paul. And Paul said, I was not aware, brethren, that he was the high priest. For it is written, you shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. That is an Old Testament law out of Exodus 22:28. And so there's no confusion. Paul does preach that we are no longer under law, that we are under grace. We're free from the law. But Paul also just told us a couple of days ago that you got to be careful not to be a stumbling block with your freedom, because other people may not be to that level of maturity where they recognize their freedom yet. So Paul is basically reenacting this Old Testament law in the New Testament. He agrees with it. He says, yep, that's the law. I disobeyed the law. So by Paul saying that's the law, it's still the law for us today, just like Romans 13. It's basically the same thing about respecting your authority and obeying your authority. Paul says, you shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. Now, man, is that not especially hard for Americans today with our political system? I mean, you're either on one side or the other, and depending on what side you're on and who's in office, we have a horrible um, culture of making fun of and running down our own presidents. We do it daily. We do it for entertainment. If you watch Saturday Night Live, it's got to where all that show is just they belittle people and they make fun of people, and I mean that's all they do. That's all the show's about, is running people into the ground. Um, so this verse right here is especially good for us to hear today. You shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. And we need to be Christians that set the example. And if you're a Republican or a Democrat and you don't talk bad about the opposite um, party or their leaders, would you not be set apart and recognized all of a sudden as being different? Wow, why? What makes you so different? Then you can give the answer for the hope that is within you, that is Jesus Christ. Real quick, uh, Paul, that goes bad. The Romans take Paul out, and that night Paul has Jesus come visit him. And I love this. Jesus says to him, take courage, for as you have solemnly witnessed to my cause at Jerusalem, so you must witness at Rome also. The minute I read that, it took me back to Jesus telling the parable of the talents in Matthew 25:21, when Jesus said, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. This, what Jesus tells Paul here, fulfills what the parable says in Matthew 25. It's so cool. And then there's another plot to kill Paul. And my law enforcement takeaway is the Roman soldiers step in and they do the right thing and they protect Paul and they move him, but they went to great expense and trouble to protect Paul. And that's what law enforcement officers do. We go above and beyond the call to protect people and do the right thing. Tomorrow we're in Acts 24 through 26. Read ahead, come back here, and we'll get a law enforcement takeaway. Until then, you guys be safe.